Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video, introduction. My name is SJ with SJ Protective Style. In today's video, I am sharing with you 10 mistakes that clients and stylists make when it comes to hair. Now, these are all based on my personal experience, and although I've only compiled 10, there are definitely many more. This is going to be a lengthy video, so grab a snack and a beverage of your choice. Sit back, watch, and also comment below if you can relate to any of the things that I'm sharing. All right, let's start with number one. Number one, to be early is to be on time. To be on time is to be late, and to be late is no excuse. Life happens, and sometimes we are not on time. Maybe from the previous client, we are running behind. Maybe we have a personal emergency. Whatever the case may be, I personally think if you're going to be running over 15 minutes, you need to start compensating that client. So my policy is every 15 minutes is 10% off. For the client, if your appointment is at 3, show up on time at 3 o'clock. When your client shows up and you are on time, I'm talking about have all your tools ready. When they sit in your chair at 3 o'clock, you start on them at 3 o'clock. What that says to them is, number one, you respect your time, but you also respect their time. One of the things that's always in the back of my mind is, okay, this client's appointment is at 3 o'clock. At 5:30, they have to go pick up their child from daycare. If I don't have them out of the chair by 5, then they're going to be late picking up their child, and now the daycare is going to start charging them extra fees. If no one else can pick up their child, is going to start charging them extra late fees. If you're one of those stylists and you repeatedly are starting your clients' appointments late, even if you're really good and you have really good service, what you are telling the client is it's okay to be late. Now their appointment is at 3 o'clock. What they're thinking is, you know what? Even though my appointment is at 3, I know her, she's going to be running behind, so I'm not even going to show up till 3:15, 3:30. Repeatedly in prior appointments, you never started their appointment on time, so you have trained them that it's okay to show up later than your appointment time until the time comes where you actually need them to show up on time because you have something to do afterwards. 90% rule, 90% of the time, start your client's appointment on time. And if you're a client, show up on time. Again, life happens. Let your stylist know ahead of time that you're going to be running late. If it's a stylist, let your client know ahead of time, and always make sure that you're compensating them for any time outside of a grace period of time that they're having to wait. Number 2, be licensed. Years ago in North Carolina, and I'm not 100% certain about other states, I was servicing clients in my home. I was not licensed. There was not a license for natural hair. I personally didn't feel like I needed to get a cosmetology license because everything in the curriculum were not services that I was going to be performing. I decided I needed to be in a salon because I was starting to do the hair of clients that I didn't know them. They may have been a friend of a friend of a friend or a coworker of a person, but I didn't know that person. So I began to look for a salon. At the same time, coincidentally, North Carolina implemented the natural hair license requirement. So if you are a braider, you're required to have this license. I remember going to state board. I mean, my nerves were shook. I did the practicum, 2 weeks, got my results, I passed. And then I was so upset because about four months after that, they lifted the practicum requirement, and basically anyone that was applying for their natural hair care license was able to get their license. And I don't want to get anybody in trouble when I'm saying that, but anyway, that has changed, Now they actually have like a solid, legit natural hair care curriculum, which I think is great, because I think every braider should be knowledgeable in sanitation, using the right products to clean, disinfect, sanitize, because those are all 3 different things. Scalp conditions, temperature settings when blow drying, and doing a silk press or blowout, that type of thing. I think that's basic knowledge every braider should know. So I'm glad that that's there. As a client, if you are sitting in the chair of a stylist who is not licensed, you're putting yourself at risk. And that's actually going to bring me into another mistake coming up. So I'll stop there. The third thing is perfect your craft. Just because a person has a cosmetology license, it doesn't mean that they're great at doing relaxers. It doesn't mean that they're great at doing color services. It doesn't mean that they're great at pixie cuts. If you are going to put that service on your books, I think you should be a master at it. And if you're not, you need to be upfront and honest with the client. You should charge them some kind of discount. Hey, I'm new at this. I don't think I'm the best. I'm still willing to do it if you want me to do it, but I haven't mastered it. I would love to see, when it comes to license and certifications, kind of like when you go to college, right? You have different core classes that you take. Fine arts, a language, some type of science, math, etc. And then you get into your actual degree. So where that's business administration, public administration, but everyone takes these core classes. And I think when it comes to hair, we should all have these core classes like washing, sanitation, that kind of thing. But then you have certificates where if these are services you're going to be providing, you have the certificate and you have proven to be a master in that service. So like a certificate for locks. When it comes to weaving, sew-ins, there's a certificate for braiding, different braiding techniques, corn rolling, inverted braids. Number 4, interview the client. And this goes the reverse. If you're the client, you need to be interviewing the stylist. Years ago, I made an appointment for a sew-in. I was on Instagram and I saw this girl's work. Actually, somebody recommended her, and then I saw her work and I was so impressed with her sew-ins. I went online through her booking system, booked an appointment. I showed up with my bundles, and she asked me, when was the last time you washed your hair? And I think it was like no more than 3 days before the appointment. She said, okay, well, we're gonna have to rewash your hair. She said, what do you want the sew-in to look like? So I started showing her pictures. She said, oh, well, we're not gonna be able to do the deep side part, but we can do a middle part. So now I'm upset because I'm not going to be able to get the look that I thought I was going to get when I booked the appointment. And then she said, oh, and where did you buy your hair? And she said, well, I can't use that hair if it's not this brand or this brand or this brand. I can't use it. And I'm thinking, if these were all things that I had known before the appointment, I probably wouldn't have made the appointment. So now I've wasted my time by coming here. If it's a new client, I'm always doing a consultation, because I've learned the hard way. Ask all those questions. How long is your hair? Is their hair even long enough for you to braid? They show up with an appointment and you can't even braid their hair. Maybe there's certain products that they're allergic to. Maybe there's a scalp condition that you need to be aware of. These are all things that you should know before they have the appointment. As a client, you should be interviewing the stylist. If you have never sat in that stylist chair, you need to be asking questions. Are they licensed? How long have they been doing hair? Do they promote healthy hair? What do clients say or about them when they leave their appointment? And granted, when I say interview, I don't mean you're sitting at a desk face to face and going down a whole list of questions. But these are things to be thinking about when you're looking at their online presence. If they have, if they have braids on their service list, look for pictures of the style you want, of those braids that they've done on their page. If you sit in the chair of a stylist who is not licensed, you are taking the risk with your hair. You know, sometimes you go into the braiding salon and they have to blow dry your hair before they braid it. If they're not using the right heat settings, the right heat protectant products, they ruined your hair. And that is on you. If you sit in that chair and you haven't asked those questions and you haven't done your research before sitting in the chair of that stylist, when you leave, you cannot blame that stylist for any damage that is done to your hair because of them after the appointment. That brings me into my fifth one. Take pictures of your work. There are 3 reasons why you should take pictures. Number 1, you're promoting your business. Your pictures, your work, that is an advertisement for your business. Number 2, if a client wants a certain style, how do they know that that is something you can do until you have a picture of it posted on your page? I saw a YouTuber and she said that the stylist said, come to the appointment with makeup on and be prepared to take pictures and do short videos. And I'm thinking, that's a bit much. And in that case, that client is showing up as a model. They should know that ahead of time, and their service should be extremely discounted or probably free. If they don't want to take a picture, they can hide their face, or, you know, maybe have some type of decorative mirror where they're blocking their face. But the other reason why it's important to take pictures of your work is, here's what happened to me years ago. And maybe this has happened to you, maybe it hasn't, but it definitely taught me a lesson afterwards. So I had a lady that, this was years ago before I was licensed, and I was charging $65 for sew-ins years ago. Anyway, I did the sew-in and she loved it. Loved it so much that she came back for a second sew-in. Well, this sew-in, she told me, was not like the first sew-in. She called me days later. She told me she wasn't happy, which I thought was a bit shocking because when I finished, she said she loved it, and I apologized and told her that I would fix it. You know, I would redo it for her. And she said, no, you know, you don't have to do that. It's just not like the way it was the first time. So I told her, okay, I will give you half of your money back. I did take my time to do it, and you seemed satisfied when you left, so here's half of your money back. She didn't want that. You know, it's just not like the first time. So I could tell she still wasn't happy, so I just finally said, well, okay, I'll give you all of your money back. She did not want her money back. And it was at that point that I realized she might have some type of mental condition. I talked to my mom about it, and my mom said, well, if you've done everything you could do, there's nothing else to do, but make sure you don't service her ever again. Fast forward about 2 or 3 years later, I get a phone call, and it's from an unknown number. And I don't answer unknown numbers unless you've left a voicemail, or if ahead of time I know that's your number, I'm expecting it. But at that time, not answer unknown numbers. Lo and behold, it was a voicemail from her, and she was wanting to make an appointment for a sew-in. I blocked her number so fast. I was like, you are not putting me through that trauma. I say all of that to say, I wish I had taken a picture of my work as proof that she was happy with it when she left, and that at least I thought when I finished, it looked good. But it was her word against mine. So take pictures of your work. Number 6, and I'm definitely guilty of this one, offering a wash service. There are certain treatments that client may need that can only be done when you're washing their hair. Maybe it's a steam treatment, a deep conditioning treatment, and that's just going to help with the health of their hair while they're wearing that protective style. Be clean. Wherever you're servicing that client, that should be a clean environment. Now, I understand the day gets busy, the salon it may get dirty. You've had 6 clients back to back to back to back to back, and you haven't had time in between to keep the salon tidy as needed. Maybe there's hair on the floor, but 90% of the time, that space that you're doing their hair, it should be clean. What you're saying, if it's not clean, at least for me, you're not even taking the time to clean the environment where you're styling my hair. Are you taking the time to clean your tools? You know, even as a stylist, I have been a client, and I remember going to a salon, and even though the service was great, the style was great, I never went back because the salon was dirty. If you drop a tool, I have had a stylist drop a comb on the floor, pick it up, and keep styling my hair. And that's one of the things they teach you when you're getting your license. If that comb, if that tool hits the floor, it is dirty. I don't care if you literally 5 minutes ago just washed that floor with bleach and water, that tool is dirty. The client is leaving, Lysol that chair. I said what I said. Following up with the client. I'm definitely guilty of this, and I'm not the best at this one. Because the clients are your business, if they are not happy, you have no business. A couple of days after their appointment, reach out to them. Or have if you have like some type of online booking system, have it automate some type of email to them asking them, hey, how are you liking your hair? How was your appointment? Is there anything that I can do to improve? Even with years of experience, and even with repeat clients and referrals, even though those are all compliments that you are a great stylist, there's always room for growth. No matter how good you think you are, there's always something that you can be doing to improve. And what better way to know what those things are than from the very people that sit in your chair month after month, week after week after week. The other thing that I think would be very helpful, and I used to do this years ago, I used to give clients what I call a prescription pad. Kind of like when you go to the doctor, it's electronic now, but years ago you go to the doctor and they would write on paper whatever medication was needed for you, and just brief instructions: take by mouth with food twice a day, da da da. And so I had these prescription I call them hair prescription pads. And it would have things like, based on their hair, increase your water intake, take multivitamins, make sure you tie your hair up with the silk cap, spray the leave-in conditioner every day, moisturize with this type of oil 3-4 times a week. Especially for new clients that they've never worn the style before, it's just helpful to have those instructions on how to upkeep their hair after the appointment. Number 9, be an expert, but also a student. Even with years and years of experience, the industry is always changing. New techniques are always coming out. And that's one of the things, even though there's some things about the Brona hair shows that I'm not crazy about, one of the things I really do like is the classes. When you are learning from someone else, there are techniques that you could incorporate into your service. Even with what you know, there's always room to learn even more. The last and probably one of the most important mistakes that we make as stylists is not making time for ourselves. This leads me into a little bit of a personal story, because it is part of the reason why, not the reason, because there were other reasons, but it is part of the reason why I ended up moving from North Carolina to Texas. Money is good. Money allows you to buy things you've never been able to afford. It allows you to have experiences that you may not otherwise be able to have. But if you don't have your sanity, I don't care how much money you have, it is not worth it. If you have set aside 2 or 3 days out of the week You're going to spend this day with family and friends. You're going to spend this day doing absolutely nothing. And you're going to spend this day maybe just visiting different restaurants in the area. Whatever the case may be. If you have taken those 3 days out of the week and you say you are going to spend them doing something else other than hair, do not do hair on those days. There were so many times where I would maybe cancel something I had with a friend because I had a client, maybe a long-time client. I didn't want to let them down. They really needed their hair done, and I would take that appointment. I would squeeze. I was supposed to be done at 8 o'clock at night, and this person really needed their hair done, and I say, oh, okay, well, go ahead and come. And I wait at the salon, and then 8:30 I would take this client. I found myself making so many accommodations for people because, one, I didn't want to let them down. Two, I was like, oh, you know, it's the money, it's the money. But I didn't realize at the time, but over time I was breaking myself down, trying to find the words. Make time for yourself. I was watching a video of a YouTuber. She was a stylist that she started cosmetology school at 19. And by 26, she put up her hat. She said, deuces, I'm done. She was burnt out. In her sharing her testimony, although we didn't have the same exact experience, a lot of her experiences mirrored mine. Physically, her body, from standing up all the time. And this girl was only working like 4 days a week. I'm like, wow, honey, I had a full-time job and I was working 40 plus hours a week. She was just exhausted. Hindsight being 2020 now, I've learned that while I love doing hair, I also have to be so mindful how I'm spending my time. Over the years now, I've definitely mastered that. That was a huge mistake and weakness of mine years ago. If you're a new stylist and you're watching this, just take my advice. Make time for yourself. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this video. Please feel free to share. Although I've shared these 10 things based on my experience, you may have other mistakes that you've made as a stylist, or if you're watching this as a client, mistakes that you've made. Feel free to share that below, especially if you think it's going to help anyone watching this video and reading the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe if you found anything helpful in the video. Take care, be blessed, and I will see you in the next one.